Hello viewers, this is Ishan Akbar. In this video lecture, we will discuss that how to design a T-beam that is composed of reinforced concrete. r.c.c beam T-beam design is basically going to be discussed in this video. So basically, there are two cases for a T-beam. Whenever we encounter a T-beam in civil engineering design, then we have to focus on two things. The first thing here is that let us say we have this section of T-beam of this shape. There are two possibilities that according to location of the neutral axis. Let us say neutral axis is located somewhere here in the flange. And the second case will be that neutral axis is located somewhere here in the web. So if the neutral axis is located in the flange, then the design will be similar to the design of rectangular beam. But if the neutral axis is located in web, then the design will be like a T-beam. So basically, we have discussed this design example in the last video lecture. In this video lecture, we will discuss that how to design a beam if the neutral axis lies within the flange section. So to start with the lecture, I have included an example so that we can discuss everything relevant to that specific example. So starting with the example, you can read here the statement that design a T-beam that is shown below in which the floor slab is supported by a 6.71 meter simple span beams. The service live load is 14.6 and service dead load is 29.2 kilonewton meters. And the other parameters that the designer should use is a compressive strength as 21 and a yield strength of steel as 414. The stirrups will have a diameter of 10 millimeters and we will use only the single layer of reinforcement. And in this example, we will consider that diameter of the main reinforcement is 25 millimeters. Here we have no effective flange width. In this example, we have included that how to calculate the effective flange width. In last lecture, the effective flange width was given, but in this lecture, we will calculate or we will study that how can we calculate the effective flange width. So basically, let's start the solving the example. So the first step in designing a beam is always to find out the load and moments. Basically, we have to determine the factor loads. To determine the factor loads, we have to calculate the self weight of the beam. Normally, whenever we are given with the dead load, so the portion or part of the dead load includes this flange load, this flange dead load. So we have to calculate this web load to include in the dead load of the total dead load on the structure or on the beam. So basically, we have to calculate this depth. This is known as the height of web. So total height is 0.55 meters and the height of flange is zero point 0.1. So we'll deduct this zero point 0.1 from 0.55. So simply the width, so height of the web is 0.45 meters and width of web is zero point 0.3 meters and unit weight of concrete is gamma c, that is 24. So the self weight of the beam is going to be 3.24 and the total dead load applied on the structure will be 29.2 as given, including the self weight of the flanges and self weight of the beam web. And we have given with the live load that is given in the statement 14.6 kilonewtons. So we'll put these values 1.6 times 14.6 plus 1.2 times dead load is 32.4. When we multiply these factors and add them, we will get the total load or factor load, that is WU, is ultimate load. So ultimate load will be 62.24 Newton. And because our beam is simply supported beam, so for simply supported beam, the moment is determined by WU, the factor load, times span of the beam square divided by 8. Span of the beam here is 6.71 meters, mean length of the beam, not the span between the beams. This is the length of the beam. So length of one beam is 6.7 meters. So in this way, we'll get the moment the ultimate moment as 350 kilonewtons, and we want to determine the nominal moment, that is determined by dividing the ultimate moment by 5, and we assume that the value of 5 at the initial stages is zero point 0.9. So our nominal moment will be equal to 389 kilonewton meter. After determining the loads and moments, we have to determine the effective flange width because we are not given the effective flange width. So basically, this is equal to BW plus minimum of these three values times 2. Mean we have to decide SW by 2, 8 HF, and LN by 8. We will find out these three values and we will pick up minimum value out of these. This will be added in BW, so we will get the effective flange width B. Effective flange width is, let us say this is T beam, and we cut the section from here. So this width is known as the effective flange width. Let us say we move from here till here. This will be known as the B. This is effective flange width. You can call it as BEF. So what is SW? What is HF? What is LN? We have HF here as height of flange, that is zero point 0.1 meter or 100 millimeters. So simply these three values can be calculated as what is SW, that is the clear span, this one, clear span between the beams. So clear span, mid span length between the two beams is 2.44. So what will be clear span? That will be 2.44 plus 0 point, sorry, minus, because it is center to center length. This is C by C length, center to center. But we have to deduct this value and this value to determine the clear span. This is the SW, clear span between the beams. So it will be 2.44 minus zero point 0.3. Half of zero point 0.3 from here and half of zero point 0.3 from here. Mean this is 0.15 and this is 0.15. So clear span between the beams is 2440 millimeters minus 300 millimeters divided by 2, or because we have to choose a minimum value from these three values, so this value will be 2140 by 2. This will be 8 times HF is 100 millimeters. And what is length, span length of the beam? That is 6.71 meters. It is 6710 millimeters. So we will divide this by 8 and we'll check that which value is minimum. So simply this gives us 1070, this is 800, and this is 839. So this value is the minimum value. So we'll have to use this value. So simply B will be equal to 300 BW. What is BW here? This is the breadth of web. This is 300 millimeters plus minimum of these. Minimum is 800 times 2 is from formula because a flange is located on both sides of the web. So for this purpose, we will multiply this value, this minimum value by 2. So 800 times 2 is equal to 1900, means effective flange width is equal to 1900. If we can see here that B is equal to 1900 millimeters. So now we have to determine the effective depth. Effective depth is basically determined. Let us say we have this main reinforcement and here we have a stirrup. This has the diameter of 25 millimeter and diameter of stirrup is 10 millimeters. So clear cover in case of beam is 40 millimeter by thumb rule, 10 millimeter, and half diameter of the main reinforcement. So D for one layer of reinforcement is equal to H. Total height is 550 minus what is cover, that is 40 millimeters, minus stirrups dia, that is 10 millimeters, and half of the bar dia, that is 25 by 2. Simply we can write 550 minus 40 minus 10 minus 25 by 2, that will be 487.5 millimeters. So basically we can call it as DE or DT. This is the effective depth of the beam. In next section, we have to determine the neutral axis position, that where the neutral axis is located. So to determine this, we have to compare the nominal moment of flange and nominal moment of the beam. So nominal moment we calculated in the first page is 389 kilonewton meters, And flange moment is determined by this formula. Fc prime, we know that Fc prime is 21. HF, height of flange, is 100 millimeters. Effective width of flange, we have determined, that is 1900 millimeter. Effective depth of the beam is 487.5 and HF is 100. When we calculate Mn, that is 1484 kilonewton per meter, mean this is capacity of flange. The flange can resist a moment of 1484, but our total demand from the loads is 389. It means only flange is enough, is fair enough or designed enough to resist the applied moments. So what will be the location of the neutral axis? Simply it will be located in the within the flange. So we have no need to design or consider the web during the reinforcement design or during the design process. So only we will consider the reinforcement in the web section, but we have no need to design this section because flange is fair enough to resist the applied loads or applied moments. So as Mn is less than nominal moment is less than the nominal moment of the flange, so simply we can say that a neutral axis is located in flange. If this condition is in opposite way, that Mn is greater than Mn flange, so we can say that neutral axis will be located in web. In the next moment, we have to determine the steel requirements, that how much steel is required. So as our neutral axis is located in the flange, so this design of the beam will be rectangular beam design. Simply we will design this beam as a rectangular beam. So for this, we have a formula for the requirement of steel for a rectangular beam. This is well-known formula. We have studied this formula in last two lectures, one by M, and for M and R calculations, we have these formula available. Value of M is 23.19 and value of R is 0.861. We will put these formulas in the above, these values in the above formula, and we will get the value of required amount of steel as 0.00213. This is the ratio of steel, required ratio of steel. So what area of steel will be required? That is required ratio of steel times breadth of the beam, effective width of the flanges times the depth, effective depth. So it is 2.13 cross 10 raised to power minus 3. You can write it as 0.00213 times 1900 times 487.5. So we need the total area of the steel to be used in the beam as 1973 millimeter square. So how many number of bars will be required? Let us say that one bar, area of one bar of diameter of 25 millimeter is nearly equal to 500 millimeter square. So how many bars will be required? That is 3.946. Say we need 4 bars. So we have to provide 4 bars with each of diameter 500 millimeters. So how much of the total area will be used? We will use 4 bars. We cannot use 3.946 bars. So simply we will use 4 bars of 500 millimeter square area. So we will use an area of 2000 millimeter square in our beam. So we will not use 1973. We will use 2000 millimeter square. So when we have decided the steel amount, we have to check the minimum and maximum steel ratio, that how much amount of steel is required for this section of beam at a minimum value and at a maximum value. So we have to calculate the minimum and maximum steel ratios. For minimum steel ratio, we have a formula of 1 by 1.4 by Fy to BWD. The minimum value of steel is 494.6 and we have provided 2000 millimeter square, mean minimum amount of steel that may be required by this beam to resist the bending is 494 and we have provided 2000. It means that we are on safer side. We have provided the steel greater than minimum amount of steel. So this check is okay. This is the first check that we have to apply, and the second check is maximum steel quantity, that is AS over BWD. So AS is equal to BWD. Area of steel that we have used in the beam is 2000 millimeter square, and BW is 300. So effective depth of the beam is 487.5. And when we calculate this, it comes to be 0.00, sorry, 0.01367. So this is the proportion. This is the ratio of steel that should be used, that is used in our beam. To calculate the maximum amount of steel to be used in the beam, we use this formula. As Fc prime, our compressive strength of concrete in this case is 21 megapascals, then we will use beta 1 equal to 0.85. So here we have to calculate ASF, that area of steel in flange, that will be calculated by this formula. We have discussed this formula in last lecture. So 0.85 FC prime, we have all the values available. At B is the effective flange width, that is 1900 millimeter. And we will calculate ASF as 6899 millimeter squares. So basically, we have to use this value in place of ASF. So when we put all the values in this formula, we'll get that maximum ratio of steel that should be used in this beam is 0.06288, and we are using 0.01367. It means that our required steel is in between maximum value and minimum value. So the steel design is okay. So the second check is also okay because our used quantity of steel is less than the maximum amount of steel. The next one is the width check. Third check is the check. We have to check that either the width provided in the beam or web width of the beam is enough for the provision of steel or not. So required width is always equal to, for a beam, is 2 times clear cover plus 2 times the stirrup dia plus n means the number of bars and dia of bar. When we calculate these, it will be equal to 275 millimeters, and we have total available width of the beam as 300 millimeters. So when required width is less than the available width, we can say that the design is okay. Beam will be able to sustain these 4 bars of 25 millimeter diameter with a spacing of 25 millimeter between them. Spacing between them is 25 millimeter, and dia of one bar is 25. Clear cover is 40 millimeter, and stirrup dia is 10 millimeter. So phi is checked at last. We will determine the value of A, ASFY over 0.85 FC prime into B is the effective width of flange, that is 24.4 millimeters. As A is less than HF, so C will be equal to, because height of flange is 100 millimeter and A is equal to 24.4, it means that A is less than HF, so neutral axis will be located in flange. After calculation of C, we will calculate the tensile strain in the steel, and this will be equal to 0.0479. As this value is greater than 0.005, it means that our provided phi equal to zero point 0.9 is okay. Our fourth check is also okay. This is about the design criteria for the T-beam. And this is the final section that we have to provide the 4 number 25 millimeter bars in the section. We will provide the 10 millimeter dia stirrups. We will provide these 2 bars to support the stirrups. Only these 12 millimeter, 2 bars of 12 millimeter will be used to support the stirrups. Thank you very much.